and ask a question because I have seen the budget, but we have mainly focused on the tourism side of it. But in the loan that is we have taken as foreign reserves, but we have not talked much on the refinancing of those loans, how this GDP will be grown into refinancing those loans. We have only got the feedback from you that it was through tourism only at the moment. But only thing, as we know, Fiji has got agriculture sector, is a big agriculture sector, and refinancing of those loans could be done through agriculture. But we have not had any views on the number of leases being issued so far to farmers that have new developments into agriculture where they can develop the economy and also refinancing those loans that have been there on foreign reserves. Just make also a question, like you have also said that people have moved from Mombasa into maybe a sector in Suba and some places of the agriculture. I want to also highlight that few years in like 5-6 years back, I have also highlighted an issue with you regards to a development that was taken in Navogo. And those 5 years we have been raised this issue with the government as a genuine victimized farmer, where our leases were already underway when the coup happened. And we raised this issue with the government. Until today, there has not been addressed to. And it took us about, now it's been like the second election is almost coming. So since those are things that is happening, I believe that if these farmers are victimized like this, it will might take, I don't know when to, like contribute to the economic development in order to, but we are like to finance the GDP and, contributing to the country. But then we are taking on the loan and we are relying on the tourism sector. I know there's a good aim from it, but we also need to focus on the leases that is issued and the farmers are looked after in the country in order to contribute to the GDP. Thank you.
I think you misunderstood what I said. We're not refinancing loans. Loans are, you can refinance a loan by taking, refinance basically means I have this loan here. I'm going to pay off this loan by taking out another loan. You're not doing that. That's what refinance means. So you've got that wrong. You don't refinance GDP. GDP grows or decreases. So I don't know where you're coming from. I highlighted tourism. It's not only tourism. I said the economy is growing. The only reason why I highlighted tourism is because tourism contributes 40% towards the GDP. If you look at the allocation of the budget in the revised budget, the $63 million has been given to the agriculture sector. Not a small amount of money. So I really can't understand the premise of your question. Because firstly, we're not refinancing loans. We did refinance expensive loans with cheaper loans. So for example, the Garase government had taken out bonds in 2006. They went out to the international market. That's what a lot of countries do. They go out to the international market, they go to private investors and they raise bonds. 6% interest rate. And then normally bonds, what they do, they roll it over. So at the end of the 5 years, you have to pay a lump sum, bang. So because they can't pay it, then they'll go out again into the market and roll it over. Which we did. And then we actually got financing from the World Bank and ADB at 2% interest rate. And paid off that expensive loan, refinanced it with a cheaper loan. That's refinancing. So tourism does not contribute towards refinancing. Right. Tourism contributes 40% towards the GDP. And therefore, we, I highlighted that to show how the economies come back up. Because tourism has a huge impact on the economy. Not just about people filling in hotels. As I mentioned to you earlier on, there's people who live off the people who live on the tourism sector. Right. So there's some guy who's supplying something to the hotel. There's some person who supplies coconut for the tourists to drink. Or some person who supplies food to the person who works at the hotel. So it has what we call a multiplier effect. But as I also highlighted to you on this slide, and I talked to you about agriculture. Here. Focus. Focus on areas of competitive advantage, price of value proposition. BPO, I highlighted that to you. Business processing outsourcing. Health tourism, sports, agriculture, value addition in agriculture and other niche areas. I had a meeting on Saturday night near Kuku, where a gentleman said to me that there's too much cassava now. I'm not getting the right price. He raised it, said, how can you help us? In fact, a week before that, somebody said to me, I'm not getting the right price for my dalo and cassava. Get AMA to buy it. I said, what's the AMA going to do with it? He said, throw it all I care, I just want my money. So agriculture is running a business. Right. It's also about knowing your market. And the other day I heard one politician saying, we'll solve the inflation problem by growing more cassava and more dalo. If everybody's going to grow cassava and dalo, how much will they get for it? And then the farmers will complain and say, I'm only getting 5 cents a kilo. Everybody's doing cassava. So, with the agriculture sector, it's not as simple as that. You have to get it right. I mean, if your main issue is about the lease, that's a separate issue. It's not about victimization. As you know that the promises that were made were different. I kind of remember somewhat of what you had said about it. But most certainly the presentation is not only about tourism. And it's not refinancing. It's about getting growing with GDP. It's also about diversification. We use this word continuously. Diversification. God willing, by next week, we'll start doing open heart surgeries in Latoka hospitals. Now, people have asked the question and saying, why did you have the public-private partnership at Latoka hospital? Why not in Suba? The bulk of the people are in Suba. Well, have you seen the CWN? There's no land. Latoka has a bit more land. Part of the deal is they're going to build a new wing. In the new wing, they'll have what we call an operating learning theatre. There's not a single Fijian doctor that can carry out open heart surgery in Fiji. Not one. Not one. It's a tragedy. Because of the lack of investments in our doctors for the past number of decades. The salaries we got paid were chickens. A lot of good ones went. Today the top heart surgeon is somebody from Lambasa who migrated many years ago. He's doing open heart surgery. He's the top surgeon in New Zealand. The idea is to retain our people and pay them, reward them well. To make sure that when they're in the civil service, they don't get appointed because of their ethnicity or religion or what school they went to, or what province they came from. They get appointed on merit. That's why we talk about open merit recruitment system. People get appointed on their capacity and their capability, not of their socio-economic status or communal affiliation. So the reason why we did do this in Latoka, 4 reasons. Firstly, there's a lot more land available. We can do it in a new wing, operating learning theatre. Our doctors can get trained. And then they can, do the surgery themselves. Secondly, it's not that far away from Suba. At the moment, if we want to do open heart surgery, a lot of people go to India. Or they go, if they can afford it, they go to Australia and New Zealand. Then the big issue is, can the family afford to pay for them to go? Big issue. People go around collecting money. You don't have to collect money to go to Latoka. That hospital, the PPP, the company that owns it, is called Healthcare Fiji Limited, 80% owned by FNPA. Your organization. 20% owned by Aspen Medical. Aspen Medical is Australian certified hospital. Before the pandemic, the waiting queue line at public hospitals for elective surgery in Australia was 2 years. Elective surgery. Not emergency surgery, elective surgery. So if you have an Australian certified hospital, elective surgeries from out there can be done here too, right? Create jobs for us. Or jobs for doctors and nurses. The third thing is that if you have procedures that are going to be available in Fiji, is not available in other Pacific Island countries, they'll come to Fiji. So do they need to be? They need to be next to an international airport, none. Right. Nobody in those Tuvalu, Kiribati and all those other countries do open heart surgery. They don't have chemotherapy available. palliative care. So those procedures are available in Fiji, they'll come to Fiji. When they come to Fiji, they use our hotels, they use our airline, they buy our food, we make money. The fourth thing is that there are a lot of Fijians at the moment, a lot of women in particular, a lot of them illegally, some legally, in the west coast of America, providing aged care services. They're looking after old people. Our people are well known for looking after young people and old people. It's a fact. You go to all the hotels, you see what they call kids club. The parents come from Australia and New Zealand, they go and sunbathe, they leave the kids with the nannies. By the time the holiday ends, the children want to stay with the nannies. So, a lot of women from Fiji are actually working there. Some of them getting paid 150 US a day, accommodation, food, etc. If we can have what we call aged care services available in Fiji, we can build aged care services in Fiji, investment in Fiji. We have tax holidays now. If you invest in aged care services, you have 13-year tax holidays, etc. Instead of our people going there, they can stay here and those Americans can come to Fiji. They'll buy probably an apartment. In the western side, close to the airport, weather is much nicer there. Of course, western people are much nicer too. That's the big picture. That's what we call diversifying the economy. Not only tourism dependent. We have at the moment, like highlighted, the shortage of people in Australia to work in different areas. They're also taking some of our people to go and work in aged care services in Australia now. Rather than they bring them here. So that's what we're doing. I mean, in respect to the land issue, that's something that we can talk about later about the facilities. Maybe,